It was 2:17 a.m. when my phone screamed to life on the nightstand, nearly giving me a heart attack. The sound wasn't my normal alarm, it was deeper, mechanical, urgent. I rolled over, squinting at the glaring red text on my screen. Emergency alert. Radiation virus detected. Seek shelter immediately. Do not engage infected. Extremely dangerous. This is not a drill. Before I could even fully process the words, the same message was booming from my TV, which had somehow switched on by itself. A robotic male voice was reading it over the piercing alert tone, the background showing hazy footage of soldiers in hazmat suits dragging screaming people into trucks. I stumbled out of bed and yanked the blinds open. The sky was glowing faint green over the city. At first, I thought it was just light pollution from the factories, but then I saw them. People. No, not people anymore. Stumbling down the middle of the street, their skin pale and blistered, eyes glowing the same unnatural green as the sky. One of them stopped in front of a parked car and began pounding on the hood with inhuman strength. The windshield shattered instantly. Its head snapped toward my window, and even from the second floor, I swear it saw me. Its jaw unhinged slightly, revealing teeth slick with blood, before it let out a wet, gargling growl. I backed away, nearly tripping over my shoes, when something loud cracked outside. Gunfire. I darted back to the blinds just in time to see a military convoy roar down the street, soldiers firing into the infected without hesitation. But as soon as the bullets tore through them, the creatures just kept moving. The emergency alert tone cut back in over the TV. The voice was sharper now, faster. Warning. The radiation virus is airborne and transmitted via fluid contact. Infected individuals display extreme aggression, resistance to ballistic damage, and cannot be reasoned with. Do not attempt to assist. Shelter indoors. If exposed, report to the nearest containment zone immediately. My hands were shaking. I didn't know if I was safer staying here or running before those things got inside. Then I heard the sound that made the decision for me. Glass breaking downstairs. The sound came again, shards crunching against tile, followed by slow, dragging footsteps. My heart was pounding so hard it hurt. I grabbed the baseball bat from behind my bedroom door and crept to the top of the stairs. That's when I saw it. The front door was hanging open, splintered at the lock. A man, an infected, stood halfway inside. His skin was bubbled and cracked like melted wax, and green veins pulsed under the surface. His head twitched violently, and each breath came out as a rattling hiss. He sniffed the air like an animal, and then his glowing eyes locked right on me. I didn't think, I just swung. The bat connected with a sickening crunch, snapping his head sideways, but instead of falling, he lunged forward, arms outstretched. I bolted back toward my room, slamming the door behind me as his body hit it with bone-cracking force. The emergency alert was still blaring from the TV in the other room. The radiation virus is spreading. Lock all entry points. Infected will pursue until neutralized or restricted. Authorities are unable to reach certain zones. The pounding on the door turned into full-on ramming. The hinges groaned. Couldn't wait. I yanked my window open and scrambled onto the roof, the cold air slapping me in the face. From up there, the neighborhood looked like a war zone. Fires burning in driveways, cars abandoned mid-turn, shadows running between houses. Some were soldiers, most weren't. A scream tore through the night. Not just any scream. It was my neighbor, Mrs. Dwyer, from 2 houses down. She was on her lawn, clutching her stomach, blood spilling between her fingers as an infected tore into her shoulder. The thing didn't even stop when she went limp. It just kept ripping, chewing, swallowing. Movement to my left. Another infected climbing the siding toward me. His nails ripped chunks from the wood, his eyes never blinking. I didn't think. I jumped from the roof to the neighbor's porch, hitting the ground hard and rolling. My ankle screamed in protest, but I forced myself up and ran. The infected hit the ground behind me with an animal snarl. Somewhere ahead, I saw a military truck barreling down the street, and for a split second, I thought maybe I could make it. That was before I saw what was chained to the back. It was another infected, but bigger, taller than a man, muscles swelling under split, bleeding skin, glowing eyes burning brighter than the rest. And it was straining against the chains that were starting to snap. The chains snapped like dry twigs. The thing roared, deep, guttural, almost metallic, and every infected in the area froze mid-movement. Then, as if on command, they all turned toward the sound, toward me. The soldiers on the truck's turret opened fire, bullets sparking off the monster's hide. It didn't even flinch. Instead, it slammed its fists into the pavement, cracking the asphalt, and charged. Cars flipped in its path like they were toys. I ducked into an alley, my lungs burning, but the moment I did, two smaller infected shambled into view from the other end. One's jaw was hanging by a strip of flesh, swinging loosely as it hissed. "Move! Move!" A voice yelled behind me. A man in a half-torn hazmat suit grabbed my arm, dragging me toward a side door. We slammed it shut just as the big one's massive shadow passed over the alley mouth. The walls rattled from the force of its steps. "What the hell is that thing?" I gasped. "Mutation," the man said, yanking off his cracked visor. His face was pale and slick with sweat. "Radiation's accelerating the virus. Some of them evolve." He pulled me deeper into the building. A gutted convenience store now turned into a makeshift safe room. The front was barricaded with shelves, but outside, I could hear the big one tearing through cars. Then came the voice from the radio on the counter. "All units, Sector 4 is compromised. Repeat, Sector 4 is overrun. The mutant is loose. Extraction teams, avoid engagement. All civilians are considered expendable if containment fails." The man froze. "They're going to level this block." A sound like thunder shook the air. No, not thunder. Artillery fire. Windows shattered inward, glass raining over us. The mutant's roar drowned everything else out. And then the building's front wall exploded inward. Through the dust, I saw its eyes. Two blazing green orbs locked directly on me. The mutant's roar shook the ground so hard dust rained from the ceiling. The hazmat guy grabbed my arm. "If you want to live, you follow me now." We bolted out the back door of the collapsing store, cutting through an alley stacked with dumpsters and trash bags. Behind us, the big one ripped apart the front wall like cardboard. His heavy steps pounded closer. "This way!" the man yelled, leading me to a narrow service road. At the end, through the smoke and flickering streetlights, I saw it. A concrete structure half buried in the earth, the entrance reinforced with a thick blast door. The bunker. A distant gunship spotlight swept across the street, illuminating chaos. Infected chasing soldiers, cars burning, sirens wailing in the night. The air reeked of smoke and something sharp and metallic that stung the back of my throat. We ran hard, but the ground trembled again. I risked a glance back, too late. The mutant had spotted us, its massive frame charging down the road, green eyes blazing in the dark. The hazmat man pulled a flare from his belt, struck it, and tossed it into a side alley. The mutant turned toward the light with a deafening roar, smashing through parked cars in its path. "Move!" he barked. We sprinted the last stretch to the bunker door. Two guards in full riot armor stood at the entrance, rifles ready. One waved us forward while the other cranked the locking wheel open. The door groaned, revealing a tunnel lit by steady white lights. The air inside was different, cooler, cleaner, like the world outside didn't exist here. The sound of chaos above was muted to a distant hum. As the guards sealed the massive door behind us, the hazmat man finally relaxed. "You made it," he said. "This place, it's the safest you're gonna find." For the first time all night, my chest didn't feel like it was going to burst. But deep down, I couldn't stop wondering, how long could any place really stay safe out there? The tunnel opened into a massive underground chamber. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead, reflecting off clean steel walls and polished floors. Soldiers patrolled the walkways, their boots clicking in perfect rhythm. The air smelled faintly of disinfectant, sharp, sterile, and nothing like the burning chaos above. Rows of bunks lined one side of the chamber, the other side holding storage crates stacked to the ceiling. There were people here, dozens of them, sitting quietly, talking in low voices, eating from sealed ration packs. No coughing, no bleeding, no glowing eyes. For the first time in hours, I let myself believe I might actually survive this. A guard led me to a small desk where a woman in a lab coat scanned me with a handheld device. "Negative for infection," she said, sounding almost relieved. "You're clear. Stay in Section 3. Don't wander." The hazmat man, my unlikely savior, patted my shoulder. "Told you. Safe." He nodded toward a reinforced glass window in the far wall. "That glass? Bomb-proof. Doors? Triple sealed. We've been running drills for years for something like this." I sat on one of the empty bunks, feeling my body finally start to crash from exhaustion. Somewhere far above, I could still imagine the mutant tearing through the city. But here, in this steel cocoon, its roar was nothing more than a faint, distant memory. A soft chime echoed through the bunker, followed by a calm voice over the PA. "Attention! Bunker 17 has reached secure lockdown. All residents are safe. Surface entry is prohibited until further notice." The hazmat man stretched out on the bunk across from mine. "That's it. We wait it out. Could be days. Could be months. But we're breathing, and that's more than most." I looked at the heavy steel doors, locked tight, and the bright lights that never flickered. For now, we were safe. Truly safe. But I knew one thing. If those doors ever had to open again, the world waiting outside wouldn't be the same one we'd left. It had been 6 months. 6 months of artificial lights, recycled air, and the same canned rations every day. 6 months without seeing the sky. When the announcement came over the PA, every head in the bunker turned toward the speakers. "Attention! External conditions have reached acceptable safety thresholds. Bunker 17 will initiate surface recon in 5 minutes." The air shifted. Some people cheered. Others sat frozen, fear etched into their faces. I didn't know which side I belonged to. The massive blast doors groaned as their locks disengaged for the first time since the night I arrived. A shaft of blinding daylight cut across the floor. I squinted, my eyes not ready for it. We stepped outside in a tight group, soldiers at the front, rifles raised. The city was unrecognizable. Buildings sagged and split open like rotten teeth. Cars were nothing but rusting husks. Some flipped over and charred. The air was thick with a faint green haze that shimmered in the sun. There was no sound, no birds, no engines, just the wind. "Looks empty," the hazmat man whispered beside me. Then we heard it. A slow, heavy thud. Another, and another. From behind the crumbled husk of an office tower, it stepped into view. The mutant, larger than before, skin stretched and torn over bulging muscle, glowing eyes brighter than the day itself, stared at us. And then, from every shadow and alley, came the others, hundreds of infected, silent but moving fast, cutting off every escape. The hazmat man's voice broke. We should have stayed inside. The blast doors behind us began to close. The blast doors were closing slow, too slow. Soldiers shouted, firing into the infected swarm as it poured toward us from all sides. The mutant's roar ripped through the air, so loud I felt it in my bones. "Back inside!" someone yelled. I sprinted toward the bunker, boots pounding over cracked pavement. The hazmat man was just ahead of me, but when the mutant's shadow swept over us, I knew we weren't going to make it in time. The soldiers near the entrance were holding the line, their gunfire almost constant now, but the infected weren't slowing. The green haze in the air swirled around us, stinging my eyes and throat. I could hear claws scraping concrete, close, too close. The blast door was halfway shut. Once it locked, nothing was getting through, not even me. I could dive for the bunker and pray I made it before the seal, or I could turn right into the ruins and vanish into a maze of collapsed buildings and burning streets. Away from the monster at the door, but into a city crawling with everything else. The hazmat man stopped, turned toward me. "Pick now!" The mutant roared again, barreling closer, crushing cars underfoot like tin cans. I looked at the bunker, so close. I looked at the ruins so far. I ran.